Hey, hello. This is a painting session, art project at Maxim Grunin Art. I'm starting a study in paint, in color, and I often notice that I develop my creative ideas with some preliminary studies, like sketching and doing fleshing out the idea. Let's say if I have an idea that I wanna create an artwork, a painting, and I want it to have certain things in it, and I want to play around with how I'm gonna put it together. So this is the rough process of studying the subject matter and making sure that I create an image that is attractive to me. It's not even making sure, but this is more like alchemy. It's more like I'm in the studio trying to produce something new that will surprise me. So let's look at what's being painted. I am setting out to create a painting of a female head or a female face. So I selected a couple of pictures that, of models from internet or magazine, and I am not necessarily trying to create a portrait, but it's more like taking the photographic reference as a base for my observation, for my eyes to catch an image and to have something to look at for guidelines. Like I chose a couple of photographs that appealed to me with the type of the person, or the way the person looks, the type of hair, and so I went ahead and I drew and then painted in. Like I am creating an imaginary theme, an imaginary picture. So I chose to go with a bit more pronounced pinkish or pink skin tone, and then filled that in. Then I indicated where the features of the face are with darker black, gray, purple, brown mixtures of different darks. And I kind of roughed the head of the person in, and now I went ahead and started to build up the background. The background is there are so many choices that we can have with the background, but it's there, so it could be used. It could be used as just the way it is. It could be left white, or it could be integrated into a painting in a way that, if I apply a roughness with a palette knife like I'm doing now, or if I'm building a gradient of darker colors down below and then moving into gray purples upwards, and little by little the background starts to kind of complement, kind of help, kind of hold space for the face, for the figure, for the foreground element, the background, the foreground. I'm bringing in some of the highlights into the eyes, into the more lit areas of the face. And once I determine, this is where the light is coming in, and so I'm placing the lighter pink, and in some cases even pure white, and then I am adjusting the newly placed lighter additions. I am fading them gently into the existing mid-tone and dark. And fading is, or blending, it relies on my ability to be kind of flexible and careful with how I apply paint to the surface with the brush. It is possible to kind of gently move the brush over the edge of the lighter paint addition, let's say, and that would produce a more fade kind of looking thing, like a transparent thing. Or if I have more paint, like a lot of paint in my brush, it will then cover over. So to know how to layer, it's possible to be fairly permanent and opaque with the acrylic paint, or with oil paint, or with gouache, anything that covers over. But it's also possible with all of these mediums to be layering with transparent, translucent approach to the paint coat. And it is possible to do all of these tasks simultaneously, and that's what I'm doing. When I need to highlight the hair, I mix a fatty kind of amount of paint, and I apply it quite thickly, quite boldly, quite abundantly, so that it sits on top as a layer, like it's permanent. But then when I need to carefully adjust something in the shadow, or right now along the edges of the face, then I'll add an element of dark, let's say, and then I will fade it a little bit towards the other areas. And in some cases, it's nice to leave some roughness to the initial paint marks, so that they could be visible for their expressive, immediate quality. And that's the part I really like to work with. So the image is the one point of attraction or interest for me, and the process of painting is another really interesting point of attraction. And then making a stylish, unique hand painted surface, that's another point. And to achieve painterly surface, I would create more expressive ways of blending and applying paint, so that we can still see the brush strokes, so that we can still see the roughness, as if it's like I'm starting to paint something, and then I'm not finishing it, and then I'm breaking it up and adding even more abstract elements to those new additions. And then like a vague impression of sky, a vague impression of a landscape is forming within the background. And there is depth that continues to form with these additions of more elements. These elements, they break up the surface, they make various parts be darker, other parts be mid-tone or colorful, and then there are those light areas that break up the dark ground, the dark surface, and have an impression. There forms impression of depth. So I study my own imagination criteria. It's like, oh, I want to have an art project and I want to explore combining abstraction, figure, landscape, whimsy, graffiti, line, anything. This is like a creative search. So this is the space to do it. The canvas is the space for my imagination to unfold, and the merit of unfolding is determined by the medium as well. So it's a really fun kind of an interesting kind of conversation between me, my imagination, my ability to express through skill and type of mastery of the medium. To some degree I mastered some of these ways, and then fusing it together and inventing, creating, and exploring my inner wish pattern, like imagination pattern. I'm wanting to see an image that will surprise me, that will strike me on levels, on a personal level, where I am taking into space, a visual space that the painting is capable of creating, and I am given the depth via these darks and lights and colors, and also I'm given a story and a depth of a story via these different images. Like there's a vague image of a bunny, pink bunny person. There's a coffee cup. There's a vague landscape. There's this curious face there. And all of these elements are kind of playing together, and I'm connecting them with broader, messier palette knife strokes. And so at some point the image looks fairly complete, and I am satisfied with an exercise. There is the forming of the image right there.